Hi, welcome back to Marcia Van's Art. Today we're going to be working on fluid painting on tile. Fluid painting is something I've been doing for several years now, and I find it very enjoyable and very lucrative, and you can do it on so many different objects. It's just a really fun way to have some fun with paint. So we should start with the ingredients that we need. First of all, you need a clean white tile. This is a 6-inch tile. You can use the gloss type like this is. You can also use the matte finished brown type color tiles if you choose. I found those at Home Depot and they're quite reasonable in price. We need gloves because this paint process is messy. We need a pie plate to put our tile into so it stays steady. This happens to fit this pie plate just perfectly. Purchased it at the Dollar Tree. We need stir sticks. We need maybe a skewer, a straw, and yogurt container, a used one, which I'll use to, sometimes I use to put underneath this to raise it up like this so it's a little bit higher. But I think this will work fine, just leaving it right in the pan. And it's quite a process actually going through this. Getting your paints ready is the most time consuming part. And the fun part, of course, is pouring them. So speaking of paints, talk a little bit about the kind of paint that we use. There's several different ones you can use. You can use your ordinary craft paints. You can use your better quality paints, Liquitex, that are in the tubes. The ones that come in the tube are a stronger strength, more full-bodied, and you don't need very much of it to when you mix it. The ones that come in the less expensive craft paints are a little more liquidy, and you probably use a little bit more of that than you do the tube, but it's a very economical way to do this project. You need water handy, and you need a product called Floetrol. At least that's what I use. Other people use other things. Floetrol I put into this container here. It's a product you get from Home Depot again, and it's used to level out painting when you're painting a wall or whatever. Comes in a very large jug, and it's quite reasonable, and you can make an awful lot of paintings with it. There is a new product out that when this fluid painting became popular, the company started making products to use with it. I have not used them, so I can't even give a testimony to them. I found they were expensive, and I had already figured out ways to do it my way and at a lot less expense. However, I did pick up the other day this, it's called a Cell Maker Medium. It's put out by Master's Touch, and I got it half price, so that was a good thing. And that is used to make cells such as is in this tile here. Just makes interesting looks on your project. It's also in this canvas here. It's also on this paper that I copied from one of my other projects. It's also in here. You can see the cells in here. This is again one of my canvases that I copied on my printer and can use the paper now for other reasons, for other purposes rather. So that's one of the products you can use. You also can use an oil, which the 3-in-1 oil, if you just put like a drop or two in your mixes, it will also make those cells and help to create that same look. So it's your choice, but let me start with showing you first how I mix the paints. So let's remove these lovely items first. This is one of the ways you can decorate with your painting. This little glass vase and flowers on the tile makes a, well, make sure it makes a very pretty combination. So we'll move all this so we don't get it contaminated with the messy part. First, I'm going to put my gloves on. Even though I wear gloves, I still find that I get pretty messy. So I don't know if it's just me, if it's just the side effect of the projects. But when you lift up your tile to tilt it, you'll see what I mean. Sometimes the paint goes all over and you end up getting quite messy. You want to keep paper towels handy. So we'll put those up there. Let's remove this tile. Now, with this, my little props here, this paint is, you can use, again, you can use the craft paints. They work fine. Also, this company is, it's called Curate Color. Now, this is one of the products that they also make the pouring medium, but I just find it overly expensive and it doesn't go very far. And also I think Basics makes a very large, when I can get large containers, I get them because it's much more economical. So this is about an inch worth of paint in here. To that, you need to water this down. So I'm gonna put in about 3/4 of an inch of water and start mixing. And this is quite thick, this paint, so it takes a little bit of time to get it mixed. So you just work it back and forth, and if you find that you put too much water in, you can always add more paint. And to this mixture we'll add the Floetrol, which is what makes it flow so nicely on your pieces. And without it, you can do without it. Actually, you can paint without the Floetrol. I just find that it works really nicely. One of the things I need to do before I go too far is remove this cloth that I have below me here, so I don't get it full of paint. Now you can see it's still pretty lumpy because it's such a concentrated paint. It does take a little bit of time to mix it. Not all of the paints take this long, especially your less expensive ones. They are pretty much watery, more water in them to begin with. But the more concentrated paints need a little bit more of the water. And actually you end up, eventually you'll end up knowing when it's right just by the texture. Now it seems to be mixed pretty well now. One of the signs to knowing that it's mixed well is if when you raise it up, it flows nicely off of the stick. Well, it didn't do that. So I'm going to add a little bit more water. see I'm pouring just a very little. I don't want to overdo it. But the white is a base for a lot of our pourings. Once you get more familiar with the art form, then you can expand the way you do things and use colors a little bit differently. But I think to begin with, it's good to use white as the base. White also gives you the best cells in my experience. Some colors work better than others. Some colors will not make little bubbles at all. And sometimes that's the look you want. You don't want it to make little bubbles. Now there you can see a stream here. It's streaming off the stick quite nicely. So I think that's good for that one. I'm going to put that back in my tray so I don't spill it. Till we're ready for it. I want to remove this before I mix the Floetrol into it. I'm hoping that I put a waxy paper underneath that that's going to catch any drippings. But if it doesn't, I'll have to wipe it up after we're done. And that's okay. I'm used to doing that. It happens a lot. I think what I'll do is mix all the colors first with water, and then we'll add the Floetrol at the end to all of them. Might be a little bit better way of doing it. So I also want to use this Master's Touch, it's called. These paints I have just acquired, and I have used them, but not extensively because I haven't had them that long. But I thought I'd give them a try. They were on sale. And there you see the first paint mess, which I'll try and clean off right away. So there's that aqua sort of color, and then I'm going to take a deeper turquoisey color. Now this is Artist Loft. Nice. They work very well. And you can find those at Michael's. Put about an ounce in there. Then I'm going to use this Master's Touch purple. I like the way they package these. I like having this little spout to pour out of. It helps to control it. I found that some of these were a little more runny than the others for some reason. Could be the color. Sometimes one color is more runny than another color. So you just have to try them out and see. So that gives us those three, and I'm going to mix water with them. Let's do the purple one. Popsicle sticks come in real handy. You can find them at your craft store quite reasonable. Now this one, it seems like the paint is a little bit on the runny side. That's okay though, because I need to add a little white to this anyway, because it's not the color I want. So I'm going to add some ready-made white to this to lighten it. And truthfully, you should start with a white first and add the purple to it. So if you are mixing a purple and you want it lighter, don't start with your dark color like I did. You should always start with a light color first, because it's much harder to lighten a dark color than to go the other way. So that's a little tip for you. This is not dripping at all. And sometimes too, as it sits a little bit, it thickens up and you have to go back and add a tiny bit more water to it. This is pretty thick, but it still isn't quite the color I want it to be. So to it, I'm going to add a little blue, light blue. Now this is some paint I have already mixed up from another project. This is just a little bit too dark for me. See, this color in here is like a blue purple. That was more of a dark blue, not a light blue, but this doesn't have to be exactly like that one was. Every one is different. So let's put that one up there and bring this one down. I've taught this process a few times. Here in my studio, I've taught it, and I've taught it at an open house. I taught it in another town that asked me to come and show them how to do this. So everybody who has taken the course loves it. They enjoy seeing the process and the excitement of what you're going to get. You have no idea until you do it. And that's the fun of it. And as you get better at it, you can manipulate it more to what you want it to do. You just have to know the tricks and how to do it. And that comes with practice. Everybody has their own way of coming to their end project. And also have taught this in Florida to several ladies and children, actually. And with supervision, you can do this with children. I've also taught it in Montana, in Missoula, Montana, where my son lives. This is pretty good. It's running off nicely off of this. So we'll call that done for now. And let's next do this one, the deep turquoise. This is the Artist Loft paint here. We'll see if the other one was the Master's Touch. See if there's any difference here between the two as far as how much water we have to add. Because I'm using different paints, then I have to be aware of each consistency. Really, it is really important that you get the paints mixed really well. Otherwise, your project may not turn out to be what you want it to be. Because if you don't mix them really well, they can, what do I want to say, beat up, I guess is the word I can think of. And you don't want little lumps of paint. You want it to be nice and smooth. There's so many things you can do with these tiles. That's pretty good. So now the next process is adding the Floetrol to it. There's a couple different theories on Floetrol. Some use the Floetrol 1-to-1 with your paints. Some use it 2-to-1, so it's really thinned out. Actually, it doesn't thin it out so much as it evens it out. So let's, I'd say about an ounce. And you have to mix this really well too. You can see it's mixing into there quite well. And again, you have to make sure that it's coming off of your stick in a steady stream. Not doing it. So let's add a little bit more. So you can see it doesn't take a lot of paint. I probably won't use all of this for one tile. I probably can do 2 with it. And we'll do 2 different methods, hopefully, if we have time in this video to do 2. If not, I'll do one on another day. Because I don't want to rush this. This is something that you have to see how to do it to understand it and to see how it works. There, that's better. Okay. You just don't want this thick, so that's why the it's really important, the texture of your paint. Okay. I've done small paintings with this. I've done huge paintings with this technique. I will say the biggest I've done is 5 feet by 6 feet, and it was a monster to do. I had to do it in my garage, and in the heat of the summer, actually that day it was 92, and the sweat was dripping. But the result was wonderful. And the person who I commissioned from it, got the commission from, loves it and has it in his apartment over his couch. So that's the largest one I've done. But it's one of those things that you get excited to do the next one because you want to see what else you can develop with it. So it makes it a very exciting process. Okay. I need to add some more of that. Hope you can see how that's coming off of there. I think that's okay. Check this one again. Make sure I got enough. So I say I probably did this 1 to 1. So I would say 1 ounce of paint, maybe 3/4 of an ounce of water, and about an ounce of Floetrol. Okay, that's good. And the white I pre-mixed, so that's why you're not seeing that. Well, you saw me mix it, but I had added the Floetrol to it. Where is it? No. Okay, here's the white back. Really thick. So we have to add the Floetrol to it. This will take quite a bit because it's a lot more paint in here. And the white you want to be quite runny the white tends to, for some reason, if you don't get it thin enough, it tends to just kind of sit on the project, and that you really don't want it to do that. You want it to flow nicely off of the, whatever you're doing, if it's a tile or a canvas, tin plate. I've done this on a tin plate. It turned out beautiful. I've poured it over shells, seashells. They turned out really nice. You wouldn't think so, but they stuck to it just beautifully. And I've also done it over pots, planting pots. That worked very well. Turn the pot upside down and pour it over the top, and you'll get some nice effects. I've done it over wood, canvas, of course, just about anything you can think of that will stick to paint. Clay pieces would work. Also, I have done, you know, the 12-inch cement blocks, the flat ones that you put in your garden, or you use as stepping stones. You can also use this on them. However, I would suggest that you use the paints for outdoors with that. And they will last you, mine are going on 10 years now, and they're still very, very good in color. And they stay out all year round and through the winter. But you have to use the indoor-outdoor paints, not your indoor paints, just your indoor-outdoor. Okay, that's flowing pretty nicely off of this stick. I still think I want to put just a little bit more. Okay, that looks good. So far, knock on wood, not too messy. Okay, we're about 28 minutes in, and we're going to start this little project. So let's get our paints out of the way. One thing I want to do is put this cell medium into the white and mix that in. So I'm going to put a few drops in. Because I've got so much in here, I think I'll put about 5 drops in. Normally, in a smaller container like these, you would just do 1 or 2 drops. Mix it up a little bit. I want to try a little experiment here and see what happens with the pour. I'm going to do it a little differently. Not too different, but add a little twist to it. I'm going to put the cell maker in the bottom. Now in the bottom, so I put like 3 drops in there. The color that goes in first is generally the color that comes out last. So it'll be on top. So I'm going to put the water in the bottom. I'm sorry, not the water, the white paint. And to that, I'm going to add one drop of cell maker or medium to this deep turquoise. Oh, 2 drops. That's all right. We'll put a little bit of that in. This is going to go right in the center. Just let it pour in. You can swirl it around if you want to. Now you can see the action in there. That's the reaction to the cell medium. It's making cells already in there. You can see them. Top of that, I want to add this aqua rather. And when you first start doing this, it's kind of good not to use too many colors. Sometimes it gets, the fewer colors you use, the nicer it is. So to this purple, I'm not going to add much of this purple because it's so intense. And if when we pour it out, I need to add more, I can do that. But on top of this, I'm going to add this light blue that I have here. I hope. It's plugged a little bit. This is one of the problems with not covering your top. Okay, well, that's going to do it. I'm going to have to take the top off and pour it, I guess. Now, this color has already been pre-mixed with all those products that we already did. I'm going to take the skewer and just sort of swirl it around a little bit. You don't have to do that. It's just personal preference. I felt like doing it today. No special reason. Just so you could kind of see the prettiness of it, I guess. And what we're going to do is pick up the tile. I'm going to turn it upside down onto the cup, flip it over, and lay it back down here and let it sit there for a minute. Let the cells and the paints percolate together a little bit. And then the excitement comes when you lift it off and find out what we get. Tap the top to make sure the paint's all out of there. And here we go. Now, it's interesting. You can tap this off onto here if you want to. That's the inside of the cup. Pretty. Sides of the cup. I always find the cup is one of the pretty parts of it. I'm just going to let it sit there for a little bit. Let it rest, so to speak. Let it do its thing. Now I'm going to pour, when I pick it up to pour it, or if I just tip it to pour it, off of the tile, it's going to end up in the plate, right? And that's okay. What I would say, though, is after you do this, and then you pick this up and set it someplace else to dry, you wash out the pie plate, and then you can reuse it over and over again. Sometimes I'm not near a sink, and I just keep going, and it makes quite a mess. But that's part of the fun. So I'm going to just kind of swirl it around a little bit, very gently. I mean, you can go fast if you want to, but see all these little cells here? Kind of interesting. I don't like all the darkness down here necessarily, so first I'm going to come this way. Okay, and then I'm going to tip it back the other way. get my edges, because I'll go right over on the edge. I'm going to stand up here. We're going to go down the other way. Can see how deep that purple is. Now you can just keep tilting this till you get it where you like it. One of the things you can do, I'm going to show you to manipulate this. Some of this paint off my fingers. You take a straw, blow through the straw. You can see how the white paint is underneath. And this is where you can kind of have fun and make it your own, what you want it to look like. Sorry, my head's in the way. Now, you might not, I like what's happening over there. I'm not so fond of what's going on here. So I'm going to try and move some of this. You can get right rid of that purple. I didn't like that little blob right there. So, but I like having some of it there. So I just blew it off of there. Sometimes as you blow it, you get more interesting things going on underneath. Now sometimes this is what happens. You get these little, until it levels itself, you get these little spaces here. I just take some of the paint and put it back on there with my finger. Now after you get this where you like it, whatever that is, then you can remove it to another place and let it drip dry, so to speak. It takes about, well, it depends on the weather, but generally, and how thick the paint is, about 8 hours to dry. So now there's still, let's see if we have, how much paint we have on here still. See how much it's moving. So if you tilt it a little more aggressively, you can tell that how much might be on there. You don't want to thin out too much because you don't want spots, empty spots. So I used about the same colors that I used in this piece over here. This one. They're about the same colors, but look how different they are. Interesting. That's what makes it fun and interesting. I think that one has a little bit more lighter blue in it than this one does, and that's okay. Let's see here. You can take your paints and you can add little bits more paint if you want to different areas. You can swirl it and you get designs. This I'm showing you a lot of different techniques. This may not be a masterpiece, but I wanted to show you the different things you can do. So that makes it kind of fun. See the little swirlies you can get. I like that. I think I might come over here and do a little bit over here. Start down there. Now by itself, you might say, gee, I don't know if I like it or not, you know. But when you put it with something else and you marry them up so they look really good together, then you say, oh, I really like that now. I have some purple candles I think would look really nice with this. As on a table. Now, after this dries, you can paint the underneath part, and then you can put little feet on it. You can use felt pads, or you can actually use little wooden feet. I've done both. You can also, when it's dry, varnish it you can spray varnish it, or you can dry varnish it. By that I mean you can brush on Ceram Coat varnish or any of those craft store varnishes that you might see. So I'm going to put this over on the other table to dry, and I'll be right back. This is what you have left in here. Oftentimes what I'll do is save it actually, and I'll pour it into a cup, and you can reuse it on another project. And then I'll rinse it in the sink and get the rest of it out. I've made a lot of canvas book covers for journals that I make with this method, and the other things I mentioned to you. It would be a nice vase stand, as I showed you in the beginning, or a base for a candle, or a base for maybe a special little piece that you collected when you were traveling to show it off. And they're fun. They're a lot of fun. Okay, now let's do one more. And with this one, we'll try a little bit different method. I'll show you a different method, I should say. And this one, let's start with the light blue on the bottom. I need a new cup. I'm going to put the light blue on the bottom. It's just such a pretty color. Set that there. To that, I'm going to add some of this greeny color. Let's put some sell medium in here. See what happens. We'll put it in the center and see what happens this time. Now the white, I'm going to pour along the side. And on top of that white, I'll pour a little of this deeper color. Like so. Now instead of flipping the cup, with this one we're going to pour the cup. So on top of this, let's put this leftover that we had here. Let's mix a little bit of that in there so we're not wasting it. And so now I'm going to pour from up above here onto the tile. Slowly, let it come out slowly. You can get some really pretty images with this method. I'm going to move it back over this way because I can see something happening that I want to encourage. I'm going to come back over this way and return back the other way again. Let's continue down here. I like all the feathery-like looks we're getting. I'm sorry my hand's in the way, but really can't avoid that. Okay. Now let's see what's going to do. Well, let's force it here. Let's give it a quick movement. Go around and around. Whoop. Use your finger to get it that way. I'm going to add a little bit of paint to the edges here because it's not flowing like I want it to. So you can see there's really no rules. You just have to kind of pay attention to how it's acting and respond to it. I found that the girls really enjoyed doing these tiles. It's kind of quick and easy project, but yet very attractive. And like I said, there's so many things you can do with them. You could use it as a base for putting a special dish on for entertainment. Just use your imagination. A beautiful flower arrangement and a vase on top would be lovely if it was using the colors in it. I like what's happening here with all around that white. I think that is really pretty. I'm going to go quick rinse my hands while this is sitting there. Now there's a lot more methods to fluid painting. I mean, it would take probably a month to show you all of them. This is just two ways to do it. And next time, if I get comments from my viewers, what they would like to see, then I can continue and do more methods, which I probably will do anyway, but I'd like to do what y'all would like to see. And so therefore, if you can let me know in the comments and below, and if you like and subscribe, if you do subscribe, would you please hit that bell, because that next to the subscribe area, because that will alert you every time I have a video up, and you won't have to wonder when is she doing one and when is so forth. So now this is interesting, isn't it? I love how this is turning out. This will continue to, it will continue to work on itself. I can see it's going to start, color going to start going down into the white. So I think what we'll do is we'll end for today with this. In the next video, I will come back and I'll show you how this turned out. So today, let's go over what we started with. The first one was called a flip cup, where you put the tile over the paint that you've poured into these little cups, and you flip it over, and then you just let it sit for a bit, take the cup off, and see what you get. Then the pour cup is pouring the paint into the side of the cup and then holding it and pouring it slowly out of the cup. Gives you some interesting effects, I think, and there's always something new you learn. Everyone is different. You can see the little cells in here forming, and they will continue to do that. Sometimes if you put heat on them, like a hairdryer, they will continue. Now these little areas here that look like there's white underneath, it will all settle out in the end, and you won't have that. So I hope you enjoyed this. I had fun doing it. And in the next video, let me know what you'd like to see. I will be doing more of the canvas painting for sure. And I have a lot of ideas to show you of how to use them on canvas. I think the next project may be something for your front door for the fall. So, looking forward to talking with you again. Hope you have a great day and you enjoyed this. Thanks.